everyone, welcome back to Katarina's Garage. My name is Katarina Lloyd. Jesus Christ. I am not, my brain is just not functioning properly right now. But anyway, so as you can see, I'm just a little dressed up because I felt like it. And also I just want to talk about a few things with my car, what happened over the past week with the car, and just other things as well. Like, so we have to go back to last week for some of the stuff, and then plus also I've got radios here, and which one I'm actually going to choose between these three radios to put into the car. But something, so before I even begin with any of this stuff, and actually with the dyno numbers read for this car, which I mean I can actually improve that without spending any money, to be honest, because the tune isn't 100%. I need to dial back the timing, and I need to reject the carburetor, and then it should be okay. But something I want to show you is actually up front. What happened when I was coming off of the dyno, and at the Girl Power powered by Devin dyno, is, well, my fog lights broke, and I'll show you, because the approach angle was very steep approach angle. So, dun, 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 and I kind of lost. I did not really anticipate how steep that angle was coming off the dyno, and as a result, I did not have the brake on really. I should have just had it in neutral and just brake it down slowly. But mine was the very start of all the dynos run that day, and unfortunately, smashed both of my fog lights, which I just installed like a month and a half, 2 months ago. It's just kind of sad, but it happens. But there is good news though on the day, because I actually, which I left it inside, dumb me, but I actually won lowest power by a female on the dyno, and technically I was the lowest power of the day, period. Because even, at least horsepower wise, not torque, but horsepower, because horsepower wise, actually, my buddy's Capri that has day one modifications, essentially delete the emissions, and that's basically it. Just delete the emissions, and just make it a slightly freer floor exhaust, but keep the stock muffler on it. And he made, I think it was like 94 horsepower. I only made 91. But I made 185 foot-pounds of torque. He made like 145. So that's where all of my modifications come into effect. It's more so for the torque as opposed to the horsepower. Now, you can see because it's an inertia dyno, so I was able to do on the very last run, actually run it hard. And you can see where it says on here, it shows 534 foot-pounds of torque, but that's not actually correct. So if we go to the red line here, and you see where is the fourth gear shift, because your fourth gears were 1-to-1, and when I shifted, it made about 185 foot-pounds of torque. So basically it's 91 horsepower, 185 foot-pounds of torque, which, not bad. It's much improved over stock. So, you know, I'm quite happy about that. But I was hoping it was going to make a little more than that. However, I can tweak things and get it done. And actually something that's coming up, we'll see if I'll be able to make it. I'm not sure yet. Although one thing that I will say, it rained heavy last night. So the smoke is all but gone in the area for now, which is awesome. It rained in a few different areas, to be honest, and it's wonderful. However, now let's go into, if you're looking at these here, you might think, what are those? Well, if you don't know, these happen to be subframe connectors that I picked up a little over a year ago. I picked them up for the convertible, but honestly, these are just bolt-in, but you can actually weld them in, to be honest. That's not a problem. And the thing is, I actually want to, and this is actually for, you know, seat bolts, which I might not have to utilize these, because I mean, I'm going to keep the stock seats in the car anyway, so. Like this car, I don't think will ever make enough power to need me to require to change out the seats, but we'll see. Although I do want to change out the seats for something just a little more comfortable. But yeah, so subframe connectors, basically what these do is, so this is a unibody car. Every single Mustang ever made is a unibody car. And so it has a subframe up front, subframe out back. What these do is these go on either side. Like I said, these are a bolt-in style. Bolt them in like that. and then it just gives it a little more rigidity within the chassis. It's no different than if you install a roll bar or a roll cage, it'll do the same thing. But stuff like this, and even like I do want to do a strut brace underneath the hood as well at some point, just to stiffen this thing up, because even though it's fine the way it is, I just want it to be better. And then I want to do thicker sway bars to make this thing handle a little better without all the freaking body roll, because this thing rolls pretty bad. Yeah, so anyways, now let's talk about radios here, which again, I have a few here. I have 3. 2 of them are factory Ford radios. The one is an aftermarket radio that came out of a Civic. So let's take a look at these 2 factory Ford radios here. First, so what's interesting is, okay, so these are 2 factory Ford radios. This one is actually a much rarer radio than this one. And the reason for this is there was an option. There was an option for this little button here. And this button activates the factory amp if you actually got that as an option. Otherwise, you just had the standard radio, which that one is, that happens to be an AM/FM cassette, which I'm going to actually install. And this one came out of an 82 Capri with the amp. This is out of my 83 Mustang parts car. So, and then you might be wondering, well, this one on the end here, this is kind of an unusual radio. So, I'll show you what I mean. So this doesn't look like much, right? But this happens to be an aftermarket radio from probably the late 70s or early 80s. And it's actually a, so it's an audio Vox, which says right there, but it actually is licensed by Learjet, which you can see right here. So Learjet actually designed this radio, which Learjet, like as in, yeah, the jet company, made this radio back in the day, and it's just a cool little unit, to be honest. And I really wanted to actually install that one over these Ford ones. And just because the look actually matches my car a little better with the fake wood. But something, because you might think, well, if those 2 are cassette, this one's 8-track. Because you can see it, you can push that open. It's really cool, to be honest. You know, and yeah, like, I am quite excited, though, because eventually, like, I'll put this radio in, I'll steal a couple of little parts off of this one to put on this, but, and I'll keep the factory knobs that's on my AM radio inside the car. And, you know, it's just one of those deals where that's what I'm looking at the moment of doing to the car. And the reason why I don't run this one, because I really wanted to, is so this is the factory faceplate for the Ford. And as you can see here, it doesn't fit. I'd have to chop this up, which this would just shatter if I cut it. And then I have to cut the dash apart too, and I don't want to do that. It's just so much unnecessary work. So instead, I'll just have to fiddle around with getting these inside, because old cars, a lot of old cars are like this, to where until they went to the single and double DIN sort of systems, and the later Fox bodies, and even just in cars in general, you had to basically remove radios from the back and snake them through the driver's footwell typically. Sometimes the passenger, but usually the driver's, because they were more slanted towards the driver 9 times out of 10. So there's 4 basic nuts. Well, 3 nuts, 1 bolt that you have to remove to get these off. And you can see the main one is this out back here, right? So there's this. Then there will actually be, so this nut, it will be attached to this bar that goes all the way down and around. And so there's that that holds it in. And then there's 2 little nuts that are actually on up here to help it hold into place via when it's attached to the dash there. So, and you just need basically needle nose pliers, and you turn those little nuts. They're not on very tight, to be honest. And there you go. And then you snake it out and you unhook the wires from it. So yeah, it's one of those things where at some point I'll be swapping the radio in this car. Some point I'll get new fog lights. It just sucks that they broke on the dyno, but it is what it is. You know, nobody was really paying attention, and first run of the day, it happens. I'm not really too upset. I didn't pay a lot of money for them. You know, it just sucks, and I just haven't removed them yet because it's kind of a pain in the ass to get to them. So, but it gives me the opportunity to redo the wiring on that when I get new ones, and also change change the position of the fog lights a little bit, move them outwards instead of in, because on the GTs actually they're a little bit more further out. So, which I don't have a GT front bumper on this thing. Like, I have a GT front bumper extension, but I don't have the grill, which is required, and it's a little damaged, and I don't know how to fully repair it because it's rubber, and trying to repair the rubber is going to be a pain in the ass. You could Bondo it, which I don't know how well that'd hold up, to be honest. You could fiberglass it, but again, I don't know how well that'd hold up. It's possible you could do plastic welding, but again, don't know how well that'd hold up. So that's just one of these things of figuring that out, because I do want to put that on the car eventually, but we'll see. We'll see. But other things, like I'm looking into some other stuff with the car, to be honest. I've contacted a friend about building a header for the car. He's a good friend of mine down in Oregon, and it'll actually be a turbo header. So I've got this little 46mm turbo inside my house that we might put on the car, to be honest, and just really improve the car overall. I've also looked into potentially, because I did a live stream last night, which I talked about some of the stuff with the car, but then also just some things that came up about mental health and stuff like that. If you haven't, go check out that video, because I do battle some stuff, but I'm not asking for help at all with that. I'm just saying, if you need anybody, feel free to contact me. That is totally fine. I understand. I will be a reason to fight. And because after witnessing, like last week, Disturbed and David Draymond talk about the demons that he battles, and overall just of how he has been, really just broke me, because they are my favorite band. And, you know, it was an amazing concert, because I saw them on Thursday not last week, but the week before. And, you know, it was just an amazing concert. But anyways, so I think I'm actually just gonna end the the video here. Thank you so much for watching. If you did like it, please like the video, comment anything when you see down below, subscribe, tell all your friends, all that jazz. Anyways, hope you're staying safe during COVID-19. Good luck with what we're working on, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye!